You might have asked one day to yourself, what is happening here that has been so difficult to find some professional profiles for my company? Or where are the young professionals that I can't find? Or what are they learning at school? The EU right now is in the middle of huge change in relation to national educational systems and how they talk to each other along all EU countries. Please allow me some minutes of your attention, and I'm going to try to show you that this is all to do with you and with the fact that sometimes you are under pressure without finding qualified workforce. Perhaps you may think that this is an educational business and that private companies have nothing to do with it, but please spend some minutes to listen to what we have to say. You will see how all these matters that seems to be theoretical or dry discussions have to do with the daily challenges you are facing right now within your company, as far as qualified workforce, competitiveness and survival in the market at all levels. Europe has right now a serious imbalance related to availability of qualified and skilled workforce. Such situation has to do with cultural challenges, structural challenges and operational challenges. Let's try to see the roots of this, where we are now and what we can expect in the future. According to World Population Statistics estimations, the entire world population is aging and population will actually decrease in most countries except for India and some less developed countries. By 2020, the United States population will have a 14 million person increase, China a 35 million increase, and the EU a 10 million decrease. Europe should have, just to keep the current population levels, 2.1 children per family, when the actual rate is 1.33 and it is still decreasing. Or at least we should receive around 1.6 million of migrants a year, so we seem to be walking towards a scenario of few hands available. At the same time, the European pyramid population is wider at the top, meaning we have more older people than young people, the opposite to the United States pyramid, for instance, so few young hands available. One may think that these statistical scary numbers describe a future very far from us, but please have a look. Right now in Europe, the population between 40 and 59-year-olds represents 49%, almost half of the entire population. In 10 years, the population older than 40 years old will be the majority of the population. At the same time, by 2015, there will be more people living in Europe than migrating to it. But we have also another kind of challenge, the one related with our structure. The United States and China behave like one territory, one language, one labour market, one educational system. Here in Europe we have multiple territories, multiple languages, multiple labour markets, multiple educational systems. They are quicker economies, we are slower. Our economy is still socially orientated, whereas the United States and China have economies which are competitively orientated. It means that priorities for certain daily life rules and aspects may be very, very different. In very general terms, we Europeans work less hours per year, retire earlier, and are more likely to direct our expenses to leisure instead of products, things. Considering these challenges, whoever is capable in Europe should be working. Europe needs to behave like one territory, not only travelling with no border limitations for pleasure, but also and mainly we have to cross out the borders when thinking about finding a job or hiring a new professional. Our main challenges in the end are the cultural ones and the complete ignorance of the society about how important it is that we behave as one nation, not only collectively but also individually. A recent study of Oxford research along Europe calls urgently to the attention of Europe about the high risk of skills and labour shortages in many sectors. Production sectors have faded, too hard work and no attractive images. This is one of the reasons why the number of young people's enrolment in technical training has reduced considerably all over Europe. Also, deep cultural changes among young population all over the world have an important role. Currently, juveniles consider technical areas boring, difficult and underpaid for the level of responsibilities that they have to assume. But what is the representativeness of skilled manual workers along the economic sectors? This table can show you an idea of how serious and important the situation is. For instance, only in the automotive industry, skilled manual workers may represent 55% of the total workforce. What exactly is a skilled manual? Here you have some examples. Mechanics, production technicians, electronic technicians are to mention just a few. Mobility is one of our main challenges. If we don't move along Europe, all economic issues become slower. It is easier to see high qualified professionals, usually with university degrees, crossing borders to work. For non-university level professionals, skilled manual professionals, the scenario is rather different. Main barriers: language skills and the inexistence of mechanisms that may recognise their qualification levels among the different EU countries. Well, we may think, nowadays we have millions of professionals at university level. To have a degree is something very common in the modern world. Well, let's have a look along the sectors. What are the representativeness of university level professionals? Pay attention to the yellow colour. This is the amount of university level professionals along many sectors in Europe. As you can see, this is not much. So in theory, a fluid mobility of workforce in Europe is not a reality. To constantly say that we are here is important, but in fact it does not help too much to keep repeating this over and over again in countless seminars and events. What can we do? To behave like one territory, to see Europe as one territory, to hire people and to search for a job, we need this now, and to really do it. It seems as simple as that. On a daily basis and activities, this may be a challenge, for a company may say, well, when receiving a CV from Slovenia and another from the UK, how can I compare the qualification levels and the knowledge of this candidate if their educational system and qualification levels are different? On top of that, I don't know any of these systems as I am only used to the qualification levels of my own country. The good news is that there are already mechanisms in place designed by the EU and have been implemented along all EU countries, trying to help population at educational and labour market levels to solve this. The European Qualifications Framework, that works as a kind of translator among EU countries, allows us to compare the qualification levels of a UK worker with the levels of a Slovenian worker, for instance. The bad news is that the pace of the implementation of the EQF along EU countries may vary, so we have countries where the EQF implementation is already finalised and others that have just started. You may find detailed information about what the EQF is, how it works and where to find practical help along this platform. Where and how to start. Here at this same platform you may find complete information and orientation that we recommend you go through to start with. In addition, we have collected a pool of experts that might help you with further information and orientation in the pool of experts area. Furthermore, contact points of public bodies related to qualification may also be found here. This is a common challenge that impacts all EU countries and every individual citizen. All society must take part in the solution of this challenge. Think about it. Are you on board?